A new development has been made in the story of Otto Warmbier, the 22-year-old American who was detained in the DPRK, became sick, traveled home, and then died. His parents have refused to do an autopsy on their son, despite the fact that they say they don't know how he died. When we take this into consideration when we look at the rest of the evidence, I think we get a pretty good picture of what happened. It's clear that the DPRK's story about botulism causing his coma isn't true. The medical examination when he returned home disproved that. The US, however, lied about him being tortured. That was also untrue, which was determined by those same medical experts. Now listen to the speech given by his father when he passed away. It was very robotic. It was almost as though he was reading from a script. Now, I didn't really notice that at first, but it is there if you go back and look at it. Now, consider this. They say they still don't know what caused his death, but they don't want an autopsy. This leads me to believe that there's something they don't want people to find out. Now, given the fact that he was in a coma and the fact that it was one of those situations where there was not enough oxygen to the brain, I suspect that Otto had attempted to hang himself. That would explain a lot about the situation. I think it's a case of the DPRK let him go after he tried to commit suicide because they knew he wasn't going to make it. But rather than admit that they allowed this sort of thing to happen, or it happened under their watch, making them responsible, they said it was botulism. This also explains why the statement by the United States that he was tortured was also false. And the fact that he attempted suicide would also explain why his family doesn't want an autopsy to be performed. It seems to me that it's more like there's a covering up of what happened. As long as the mainstream narrative of, oh, he was killed by the DPRK is allowed to continue, it's a justification for greater hostility against the country. Look at it this way. This could be very much a Lusitania type scenario for going after the DPRK. And as you'll notice, that there has been an anti-war streak that has gone through the media, at least since through the general population of the United States, since at least the election of Donald Trump. A lot of people are resistant to war with the DPRK because of its nuclear and missile capabilities. But now, all of a sudden, there's a ton of outrage by the public, and now they want to nuke the DPRK. They want to go to war against the country. So this has completely altered the public perception. This has killed a lot of the anti-war sentiment that was expressed towards the DPRK. And I think that is what's most significant out of this. I believe Otto committed suicide. The guards rushed in, tried to save him, couldn't make it in time, and suffered brain damage as a result of lack of oxygen to the brain, but not enough to outright kill him. So then they sent him home knowing that he wouldn't recover. And now, if it's revealed that he committed suicide, then there would be less outrage towards the DPRK. Unless, of course, you refuse to do an autopsy and never have the evidence show up. And I think that is what's significant here. I think that's exactly what's going on. The young man committed suicide rather than face 14 more years of hard labor. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to think. No, for especially for a young person with suicidal urges who always feel that what is right now is the rest of their lives. I think that's very common. And even the family would say, well, we never suspected him of having any kind of suicidal urges, which is something a lot of parents say after a child commits suicide. Now add in the actual stress of having been held in a foreign country for a crime, and you have a very likely scenario where something like that could take place. So I think it's a perfectly reasonable analysis of the situation. And of course, rather than just acknowledging the kid as having ended his own life, they're going to twist it and use it to attack the DPRK by claiming that he was murdered, which is completely false. He certainly was not murdered. There's no benefit to the DPRK killing him. It doesn't help them in any way. In fact, it would be much more useful for him to be alive, to be used as a bargaining chip in any kind of negotiations. That would be far more valuable than him being dead, which would only make them look bad. So I think that's what happened here. I think this young man committed suicide, and his family was told by the State Department or the White House to just cover it up and just let it be used for foreign policy. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.